I read some books. So I said I would do a Bout of Books 35. And now I better wrap up and tell you how I got on. Um, it's been an interesting week. It's been quite nice to sort of say, oh, these books I've promised myself I'm going to read. But also, I've realised that I often get distracted by other books and other things. So, I think all in all, the Bout of Books was quite a good way of setting myself a target and making me feel like actually I'm achieving something in the week. So, the first of all, the two ebooks that I selected. First of all, Upside Down, which is a collection of short stories with the aim of inverting tropes, or specifically story tropes. And I think probably the standout story for me was the story by Eliza Jensen Henry, which is interesting because she's the reason why I actually selected the book. But her story about a blind detective was really interesting. But some of the other stories were a little slower. I kind of like the idea of having the short stories to read, though. Okay, the other electronic book that I had to read on my Kindle was Ghost Boys, and that was a really interesting and enjoyable read. Well, now it's a book aimed at, I suppose, 9 to 13-year-olds, and the plot is basically that Jerome is a 12-year-old who gets shot by the police in America, who believe that he has a real gun when he's actually playing with a toy gun on the street. And then that's the before death part, but we get to find him, see him making sense of his experience through his afterlife. And it's this whole idea of bearing witness, explaining what really happened to you, and also draws in the story of Emmett Till, who was assaulted and murdered because he was a black child who didn't know his place. And which that's actually a real event, whereas Jerome is a fictionalized character. Yeah, really, really good, well written story. There were bits that are a bit too obviously teaching. I think that's but the whole idea of the story, particularly the interaction between Jerome and the police officer's daughter, who is the only living person that can see him, that worked really well. So then we come to my physical books that I've read. First one, Lizzy and Lucky. Brilliant little chapter book for I suppose 5 to 8-year-olds. Charming, fun, not the most challenging read, but definitely one that I'm going to be recommending to other people. The other is Sovereign by April Daniels. Now it's the second book in the Dreadnought series, and Danny has found herself as the superhero Dreadnought. She's trying to navigate her new role as a superhero. How she's trying to make sense for her own new powers. She's trying to save Newport City, fight the Black Capes, and also to navigate her relationship with Calamity, which started at the end of the last book, and also work out what Grey Witch is playing at. Grey Witch is continuing the transphobic hate campaign against her, and actually one of the really interesting things was that through the interaction with Grey Witch, where Grey Witch insists on using male pronouns and referring to Danny as a boy, it really showed how harmful that can be, in that it just doesn't match the perception we've got of this character. And it really shows that it's not about misgendering because of reading the person wrong. It's about trying to harm and force her own perception of Danny onto Danny. And I really like Danny as a superhero. She's not perfect. She queries things. She's uncertain about herself. Definitely a really good story, and particularly as Danny is trying to make sense of the world of superheroes and who should and shouldn't have powers. Really interesting. So, and then I had my audiobooks, and the first one was Gap of Time, and that's a story by Jeanette Winterson, and it's a retelling of A Winter's Tale by Shakespeare. And of all the things I read, I suppose it's the most literary of the books I've read. It's really clearly thought out, though. And if you know the story of A Winter's Tale, you've got a king who believes that his wife has been unfaithful, and so he sends his daughter away. His daughter grows up thinking she is a poor person, meets a prince, falls in love with him, and then finds out that she's the prince is the son of her father's best friend. And it's classic lost baby stuff, and it really worked. I think Perdita, the lost child, was every bit as sweet and gentle as she is in the Shakespeare. And it's all brought up to date with, instead of being kings, Leontes and Polixenes are businessmen. And their relationship was more than just that they were childhood friends. It's made very clear through flashbacks that Polixenes actually has always been in love with Leontes, and that Leontes is in love with Polixenes. It works. I wasn't sure at first, but it really worked. And I think the other thing that really worked as a way of twisting the original story is that Autolycus, who in the original story is a shepherd, here was a car mechanic that used the that used the money that was left with Perdita in the Lost Baby box to set up a piano bar. And his son, the clown, is just lovely. Yeah, no, it really worked. Not as easy a read, but very much an engaging read. The other audiobook I had was Summer of Jordy Perez. And this was just like fun, light, queer romance. Real fluff and fun fluff. So you've got Abby, who's a plus-size, fashion-obsessed blogger with a strong media presence. And she's dealing with her food-obsessed food blogger mother. She's got a job, as an internship with her favourite designer over the summer holiday, but gets there to find that there's a girl with a really bad reputation from school who's the photographer, and she finds herself falling in love, of course. So the question is, will Jordy like her back? Will she be able to help her new best friend find the best burger in LA? So it's kind of her finding new friendships as well. It's nice fluff. It's a coming of age story. First relationship, really good fun summer read. So, of course, like I said, I get distracted, and between books, I also got caught into I'm Glad My Mum Is Dead, which is a book by Jeanette McCurdy, who was one of the sort of staples of children's television in, I think, the 2000s. And I was actually really surprised by it. It just had this real immediacy and authenticity. Helped that the audiobook was actually read by the author. Yeah, it was heavy subject matter, but told in an engaging and lively way. I mean, it was realistic portrayal of OCD and ED behaviour and alcoholism. And it was a real interesting reminder that the perfect girls on kids' TV are not all perfect, and that there's a lot that they have lives in the background and we don't know what's happening. It was just really snappy, well written, and really wasn't the typical celebrity autobiography. So I'd like to say a really big thank you to everyone that recommended that to me. So that's my reading week. It's actually made me think maybe I would like to, one of the things I'll do with the channel ongoing is do sort of a weekly catch up of what I'm planning on reading and what I've actually achieved in my reading. That I think that's going to give me a bit more structure to how I plan my channel. So, what's next? Now, I've got a few good books with deaf characters to read and to review through September. That's going to be my focus. I've got a number of different books, both children, both picture books, short novels written for children, and I've got a few adult books written for adults that I want to review as well. That should keep me busy. So my next video will be a to be read, and I'll tell you all about what I've got on my to be read shelf. And then upcoming, we've got I'm starting to plan for October, when I really want to go into understanding anti-racism and the Black experience as part of Black History Month. I think this is an important thing for me. And I've got a few texts in line, but I will also be working out through this month. I'm going to be working out what I'm going to be reading for Black History Month, to sort of challenge, inform and entertain me. So that's what I've got planned. So, and if you want to see some of that, you know what to do. Subscribe. No, but please, if you've got any book suggestions on either the themes of deafness or things you think I should read for Black History Month, I'd love to see them. Please put your ideas in the comments. Right. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye.